Good morning, everybody. We are back. We are live. It is the closing line for Saturday, January 27th, 2018. I'm your host, the Big Man on Campus. I don't know if you could see me or not. I don't think they could see me, Ian Cameron, but either way, we're getting going live here on Saturday. Ian, Cameron, you're live with me here. Breaking down college hoops. How you doing?
I'm doing good, big man. What can you do? Technical difficulties. You can't run away from them. There's nowhere to hide. They're eventually going to track you down and beat you up sometimes. But unfortunately, that's the way it goes. But I'm looking forward to it. This is a nice Saturday for me, big man. Usually I've got 12 hockey games to handicap and college basketball. It's a grind getting through looking at these Saturday games. But with the hockey on All-Star break, it's nice. I get to put a little more attention into college hoops today and a lot of interesting games to break down. So let's get to it.
Yeah, a lot to do today, which we'll get into here in a moment. Want to welcome everyone into the show today. As always, Saturday, a big day for college hoops fans. No football until next week, so basketball takes center stage here, whether it's the NBA or it's the college hardwood. We focus here on the college hardwood. We'll try to get to as many games as we can. As I said, welcome all the listeners. Make sure you hit the like button. Support all the different shows here that we have here at SBR. Always a helping hand for you if you need it. Ian, let's get into the show here. A lot to do. We'll kind of just go all around. I know you'll have a couple games. I'll have a couple games. There is one game that I'm definitely very interested in today. Saturday's, Ian, so important, so big that, I think a lot of the time you kind of space out things that you do. But let's jump into it. We'll start with some of the early matchups. Generally, I don't have many plays a lot of the time on these early games. Real quick, before we get into it, Ian, did you have anything last night, and how did that go?
Yeah, we had it was actually a good night with the college basketball for the most part. We had Buffalo, they pushed. We had a little bit of St. Peter's, and they covered, even though they blew the straight-up win. They led for that pretty much that entire game against Ryder and action, Metro Atlantic play, and Ryder came back and got them, but not enough to get the cover. So I had St. Peter's there, and I had Oakland, and I hated going against Northern Kentucky. I also had the over, unfortunately. That was frustrating. But Oakland plus the points against Northern Kentucky, and it's a situation, big man, where as you know, I've loved this Northern Kentucky team. I really have. But to me, Oakland was in a good situation, getting a lot of points. It was same season revenge. Northern Kentucky beat Oakland on Oakland's home floor earlier this season. And Oakland hadn't lost a single game by more than last night's point spread in Horizon League play. All of their losses, I believe, were 5 points or less, Oakland in Horizon League play. So every loss was competitive. I thought we'd get more of the same last night, but I didn't expect Oakland to walk in there and win going away like that. That was a very impressive performance by Greg Campy's squad. One of the worst performances I've seen in a long time from the Norse, but props to Oakland. They were ready to play, and who knew it? They played a little bit of defense for a change, too. Who thought that was possible from an Oakland Golden Grizzlies team right now?
What a surprise, too. I actually had the over myself. I'd been on a good run with overs. And listen, I'll make that play again. It was a standard play for me. All the things kind of worked for me in the favor there. But, hey, we miss it. Poor first shooting half. They don't get the job done. But I did see last night that the game of the day that people – I mean, I found it interesting yesterday. Everyone was a Seattle they knew everything about Seattle basketball. This team hasn't been on TV all year. No one's watched them, but everyone was on Seattle last night. How'd that work out for you? Ian, when you have a team that cannot win games by margins, you're not going to win and cover a lot. They didn't do that last night. They won by 3. Every single game in their conference season, they've won by 3 points or less. They just don't win by margin very often. Let's move on here. And let's get into today's action because that's what we really care about. We start up at the top, Ian, just kind of rattling off. Duquesne visiting Rhode Island. I saw 18s in this game last night. It's dropped to 16.5 throughout the card here. Look, Duquesne is an improved basketball team. They're well coached under Keith Dambrot. He comes over from Akron, and they've done some really good things this year. They're hanging in games that maybe they shouldn't. They're winning games they didn't last year. This Rhode Island team's really good, but you have a team in Duquesne that's hitting their stride kind of right now. They're scoring the basketball, scoring almost 80 points a game. They're a very good rebounding team, something that they can maybe exploit here against the Rams, who are a little undersized. They don't turn the ball over a whole hell of a lot. This is an intriguing one kind of early here. I guess the big question for Duquesne is, will they hit one of those we can't score streaks? Because on the road, they've had those this year. I think if they can hit 65 here, I think they'll get a cover. I don't think Rhode Island will score 80 in this game, but this is kind of one that's a little intriguing early on. Just might be one too many points, kind of like that Wisconsin-Michigan State game last night. Just might be a couple too many points, but I'm going to probably need a full 17 to take this game.
Yeah, I find with these early starts with the home team, and we know the home teams that are clearly better than their opposition, and that's the case here with Rhode Island. We know they're the better team than Duquesne, but Duquesne's been scrappy, Duquesne's been feisty, and really Duquesne, people are in love with this team in the betting marketplace right now. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a game involving the Duquesne Dukes where they didn't take money. I mean, there's people all that are really impressed with the direction, the improvement of this team. When it comes to these early starts, though, with these home teams against inferior teams, I'm leery to lay this many points. It's all about focus. It's all about enthusiasm. Are you ready to go from the opening tip? It's an early start game. Usually for the statement games, when you got a good home team facing a comparable foe, a team that's close to their level, one of the better teams in the conference, then I'd look to maybe make a case to lay points with the home team. In these kind of spots, when you've got a little bit of a class difference between two teams, a little bit less, a little bit more reluctant, I should say, to lay these kind of points. So Rhode Island's a better team. I've actually tried my chances with Duquesne a couple times. Didn't work against VCU. Didn't work the other night against Richmond, but I'm going to stay off this game, but it's all about Rhode Island. If their focus is there, they can cover it, because they did against Fordham the other night. Impressive performance. When that team locks in defensively, that's a really good basketball team, and we saw them just shut down and put the clamps down on Fordham the other night. They bring that kind of defense, maybe too much for Duquesne. And Duquesne off a tough loss. They've had some grueling games lately. I'm not sure I trust them even with this many points to stay in it.
Yeah, it's kind of right where you think it'll be. It looks a little too many. If it's 13.5, I'd probably go with Rhode Island. But if you're getting 16.5, if you can get a 17, maybe look towards the Dukes here, albeit on the road. But there has been, I want to make this clear, on 12 o'clock games this year, this is really interesting. I don't know if you've noticed, Ian, there's been some 12 o'clock games. You look at the line and you say to yourself, why is that line so high? Like the Michigan-Detroit Mercy, the William and Mary Ohio State game back in non-conference play, and they get boat raced, the team getting all the points. So, this might look like too many points, but you might be staring at a 78-58 type of game here. It's an interesting and intriguing game. I'll be interested to see how Duquesne handles this barometer on the road. Ian, there's not many 12 o'clock games. I'm not really thinking we go into those. Let's just kind of get into games that we like here. We'll start with a big one here. At 2 o'clock Eastern, 5:33, 5:34. Duke at 4.5 or 4. You can get 4s at Bet Online, Bookmaker, and UWager, I believe. No, I'm sorry, Just Bet. So, if you want the 4, it's out there. Make sure you're getting it. Total dropping in down to 134. If you got the original total at I saw 136s and 136.5. So if you got that number, great job. You got the best of it. Ian, any thoughts on this game? I said to Gabe Morency, I thought it was a game that you just sit around and you watch. For Virginia, this is to me where I think we'll find out a ton about Virginia. They've had a great season. I think they're the best defense I've ever seen. But this is the game where that can go all by the wayside, because the Duke Blue Devils are really, really, really good offensively. Grayson Allen usually shuts them down, crushes them. Begley, Wendell Carter. This is a huge offense to prepare for. Who gets the upper hand here, Ian, to you?
Do you know what? Right now, I'm not going to stepping in front of Virginia right now. For me, it's a Virginia or pass situation for me. I know Duke on this home court is formidable. There's no question, but I struggle. I struggle to really think to myself: is Duke ready for just this grinding, nails on a chalkboard, snail's pace kind of style that Virginia is going to bring to the table? This is still a Duke team that's got a bunch of freshmen in their rotation. Do they have that patience in them to handle, having to really defend for every second of the shot clock when Virginia has the basketball? That's something, they're fine in the run and gun style. When Duke can dictate tempo, dictate pace, get out in transition. That's when they're absolutely lethal. That's when they hit their stride. But Virginia's pretty decent protecting the basketball. Virginia's been very good forcing turnovers. And why is this defense for Virginia so special? Because they're doing everything. They're contesting every shot. They're getting some rebounds. They're forcing turnovers way more than they have at any point before in Tony Bennett's era here with the Virginia Cavaliers. You put all of those ingredients together, and you've got a stifling, suffocating defensive basketball team, and that's what we're seeing with Virginia. And it's weird because there was money coming in on Duke. It was 3.5, 4 in that range. It went up to 4.5. Yet at the same time, people were betting the game under the total. I think this is a correlated game. I think if you like Duke to cover, you're going to have to like this game over the total because Duke's going to absolutely have to get out in transition, get easy baskets, make sure they get Virginia out of that half-court style. That's their recipe for winning and covering this basketball game. And if you like Virginia, plus the points, you have to think that's correlated to the under because that's been Virginia's MO. Virginia's been an under the total machine. Doesn't matter if the total's been 120, 116, whatever the case may be. They've been just going under one game after another. I'm definitely leaning toward the Virginia under side of that equation as opposed to the Duke over side of that equation. I believe in this Virginia defense right now. We'll see if Duke's got the patience to handle it. I'm not quite sure yet. If they do, bravo to them, props to them, but I got to see it before I can believe it. So for me, I'm looking Virginia, and I'm looking under the total. Virginia and totals of 134 just don't mesh right now. I know Duke, great pace, great offensively, great efficiency, but that's a total that I still think it might be a bit too high.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, Virginia is a team that I'm just not looking to bet against. But here's the thing. I'm not looking to bet against Duke either. So for me, it's a pass. I don't like this game from a betting perspective. You don't have to bet this game because it's on. You're seeing 3.5 show up here, Ian Cameron, throughout some of the market. You got Pinnacle, 5 dimes, Intertops. You're starting to see some 3.5s here. If you're getting 4, you're getting the Boris number. So if you like Virginia, you want to go to Bookmaker. They got 4s right now. Bovada, I don't use, so I'm not gonna quote that. Other than that, Ian, we'll move on here. What's your main book? I use BetOnline and Bookmaker, but I also use locals as well. Let's get into some other games here. Ian Cameron, I'm going to give out a game here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you start it out. Where are you heading first, Ian Cameron?
All right, let's go. Let's go to Oregon State, Oregon, Civil War. We got Oregon laying 7.5, 8 points here in this game. I'm going to lay it here with Oregon at 7.5 here. I know Oregon State has shown up with a couple of pretty decent road performances, road efforts against Arizona and Arizona State recently, but got a good revenge situation here for Oregon heading into this basketball game. Now, we've seen Oregon start to play a little bit better recently. There's no question. They've done a better job covering some numbers as well. They had a tough home loss to USC, bounced back, beat UCLA in their next game. I'm not sure Oregon State's still a team I trust fully on the road. They're coming off a loss of their own against USC. And you look at the recent series history, 85-43 for Oregon here at the Thomas Knight Court here in Oregon last year. The year before that was 91-81 Oregon. 71-59 for Oregon the year before that. One double-digit victory after another for Oregon on this home court. Like the setup and same season revenge angles. I don't blindly bet them, but if it makes sense, if I like the spot, the situation, and the matchup, I will pull the trigger on a situation like this, and that's what I'm doing with Oregon. I'll lay the 7.5, give the 7.5. I think they can get another double-digit win here against Oregon State in this rivalry matchup.
Yeah, they've kind of been he had the upper hand in this matchup. Look, the Beavers are a weird team. They're very inconsistent. Sometimes they look real good. They have played some teams tough this year. They've improved a little bit, but I don't know that I see it. I think Oregon's a bet-on team from here on out. I think they're a team that has the kind of things that you look for to get to an Elite Eight again. They are a team with very good coaching. Everyone's starting to kind of play cohesively after getting all those transfers and grad stuff. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you on this one. I'm going to take a look at this game. Starts at, I believe, 2 o'clock Eastern. 2 o'clock. 541, 542. I'm going to take Drake +5 today against Evansville. Drake's a team that I bet on a lot this year. I really like this group under Nico Medved. They've really given you more consistent defensive play lately. But the thing with Drake you got to like is for the most part, they're very good on the offensive end. They're doing the little things. They're able to get to the line. They make their foul shots. They're a good 3-point shooting team. They've been fairly good offensively all year, shooting the ball 45%. And lately, they've really taken, some pride on the defensive end. You're looking in conference, only giving up about 68 points a game, only shooting teams 43.8% against them. And I have some concerns about Evansville. This team at times is very hard to watch on the offensive end. They're only scoring 64 points a game in conference. They're a team that can go real cold at times. They're not either team's not a particularly good rebounding team. I just think this game, when I look at it, it looks like a close game. I don't see a 5-point difference here. I don't see a team in Evansville that will pull away. I don't think they're a team that should be laying this kind of number. I could see the situation where Drake can win this game. When you go into the game thinking that Drake can win outright, I think you got to take the points here. For me, this is kind of one of those plays that it goes to a team that I've had success with and I like. I just think this is too many points. So for me, one play of mine today is going to be on Drake +5 at Evansville.
Yeah, I mean, Drake's been a feisty underdog at times. We've seen them hang tough in tough environments. Evansville's home court's pretty formidable, but Evansville's another team that's been very, very weird this season. They've had some better performances lately as they've gotten into Missouri Valley play, but there's really consistency. You could say that with pretty much a lot of teams here in this conference, big man. There's a lot of up and down roller coaster ride type of teams.
Yeah, you make a good point. This is a really interesting conference. Like I've pointed out, there's a lot of teams here that I think can win this conference. You look at even down at the bottom with like Northern Iowa and Valpo. I mean, they're teams that are generally very high in their conferences. Actually, when I look at the lines, Ian Cameron, I can actually get 5.5 really everywhere. And you're seeing that at 541, 542. You get 5.5 everywhere. You see that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, big man. Go +5.5. Absolutely. Take the extra half point. It could make all the difference. You don't want to push if the game lands on 5.
Let's rock with that. Drake +5.5. That will be on my card today. So I already put it out on Twitter. Make sure you jump on Drake +5.5. That's going to be one play I'm on today. Drake beat them earlier by 16. There you go. Any worry, big man? No, I don't. No. The line. Let's dispel the line movement stuff here with this kind of game. The line moves is a fickle thing, Ian Cameron. There's certain situations like today in Oklahoma, Alabama. The line itself doesn't make sense. I'm not really too concerned with line movement. I don't know that there's very many people betting Drake Evansville today. And the fact that 98% are on Drake, that's actually kind of helpful to me because that means there's very few people on this game. And it also means, Ian Cameron, there's no sharp money on this game because you would see a much different betting percentages there so. So there's just not a lot of people on this game, I would imagine. I mean,
you know what makes no sense?
Yeah.
I was just going to say, what makes no sense too, big man, is why are we having a Big 12 SEC challenge right in the heart of conference season? Can you explain that? I don't understand that. We're getting into these conference rivalries now. Conference season, these big-time matchups inside the conference, and now we just pluck down on a random January 27th Saturday, a Big 12 SEC challenge right in the middle of it. That's a weird timing thing for me.
I agree. Blank space. Drake lost by 23 last game. Well, here's the thing, blank space. They're not playing in that game. I don't really care what they did. Why is that relevant? I think that's something important, guys. As a handicapper, you have to not worry about what happened in the last game. It's not something that's relevant. Last night, I may have been drunk. Today, I'm not. Last night doesn't really mean too much because it was last night. Today, I'm not drunk, so that's all that matters, doesn't it? If we worried about everything that happened last time, I don't think we could really live our lives correctly. Is it important to worry about the fact that Drake lost by 23? Sure it is. Maybe they just didn't play well. Who knows? But I don't know that it's that relevant in this game. Ian, let's go to one of your games. What are your thoughts? What do you got?
Yeah, it's time to turn to some totals here, and there's a couple that I like. We're going to start with, let's start with the early one here. Let's go to, what is it? Let me get the rotation number so we can get it right. 5:27, 5:28, 2 p.m. Eastern time. It's a Colonial Athletic CAA game, not Canadian Automobile Association, CAA, as in Colonial Athletic Association. The Canadians will know what CAA means to us here. 2 p.m. Northeastern versus Drexel. We've got Drexel, Northeastern rather, 6 on the road. Total 147. Oh, geez, this total steamed up. God damn it. That's all right. We're still going to go ahead and recommend it. 147 over 147. Northeastern and Drexel. Drexel's an over team right now. I mean, I don't know what more I can say. This team's scoring points. They're also giving them up in a big way. We've seen this team trend toward the over big time in recent games. You look at the last game, I cashed a ticket with Drexel over the total against Elon. That was on Thursday night, 83-79, 162 points in that game, way over 146.5, which was the total of that game. That's more of the same from this Drexel team. They've given up 85, 72, 91, 90, 75, 79 in their last several games. They've gone, 5-3 to the over their last 8 games. And then all of a sudden you look at Northeastern. They're now on a 5-1 over the total streak in their last 6 games. You know, look at their last several games that have played to 148, 158, 160. They had one 140 against Delaware, which is a slower paced team, and then they went to 148. In their last game against Hofstra. I think we can slide up and over this number. I really can. It's 147 right now. You can get that number. It's gone up. It was 144 earlier. It's been a good 3-point move on the over in this game. But even at 147 now, I like it. Let's go over Northeastern Drexel.
Yeah, Drexel's kind of in that rut now where they're not playing good on the defensive end. And that's, you start to see this with teams in the middle of the year towards the end. You start to lose games where you maybe should have won, and you're starting to kind of get into ruts. And you're seeing that right now with Zach Spiker's team here. Pretty good offensive team, though, as well. I think they're a team that you got to have to start to buy into. I think a team interesting, guys. This is a real random game, but I want to kind of exploit this group. 675, Montana State, Southern Utah. You remember when Southern Utah was, I think they were 10-1 to the number? Well, I don't know if you guys know, but they're not anymore. They're 10-7 to the number. This team was an against the spread darling at the beginning of the year, but you look at kind of the same team, same old usually with these teams. Southern Utah, you remember how good they were Ian against the number at the beginning of the year?
Yes, they were fantastic, and now they're on a point spread free fall. And if you catch onto these damn things early enough, you can ride them. You could have bet against Southern Utah hand over fist game after game, and you'd be just raking in profits right now. When you find a team that's on a point spread losing streak, I don't step in front of the falling knife. I either bet against them or I leave the game alone.
Yeah, now they got to go on the road up to Montana State, a team that I think with Montana State, they're always intriguing because they have 2 players that are really, really good. One being Tyler Hall, who can score with anybody. I mean, he's one of the better scorers that no one's heard of. Harold Fry as well, kind of a really good dynamic duo there. And they're facing a team in Southern Utah who the main catalyst as to why they don't win games is they just don't play any defense. I mean, they're giving up 90 points a game on the road, and they're allowing teams to shoot almost 53%. That's horrid. That's heinous. That's not good. They also, Ian Cameron, if you're a basketball fan and you watch basketball, the 2 things that irritate you the most are teams that can't make free throws and teams that just cannot guard without fouling. They put you on the line 6,000 times. Southern Utah, 23 fouls a game. I'm going to tell you right now, this is another play of mine today. Get on it now. Don't wait on it. Over 154. Get on that right now. You can find it at 5 dimes. You can also find that at Just Bet. If it's 154.5, I'm fine with it. For me, it's 154. I'm going over the total in Montana State, Southern Utah. Ian, last time these 2 teams played, I absolutely kicked myself because I took Southern Utah in the game. It was in Cedar City. I was excited for it. And then I said to myself, why the fuck did I just take the over?
And it was a crazy game. Wasn't it like 98, 96 or something?
104-99.
Wow, even more than that.
You look at the game in March when they played, 109-105. And the reason I know that, Ian, is because one of my best memories with Donnie Rightside, this is a real funny story. Last year, Donnie Rightside and I basically found that this Big Sky had this basketball tournament, the conference tournament. It was out in, I think, Reno. And it was over city. Like every game went over. The refs were calling every foul. It was just a hard to watch game. But for over bettors, it was great. And I remember, you can ask Donnie this. It was like It was probably 12:30 Eastern on a random Thursday night, and him and I are on the phone, and we're talking about this game, and he's saying to me, this game, we got to get on the over. I said, right, it's a late game, it's a tournament. And I remember watching this game, him and I, it was awesome. Back and forth. Him and I, it was one of our great memories betting because we both had the over. We were big on it. I came in easily. I mean, it was a stone cold winner. But you look at Montana State, I mean, they're no spring chicken either on the defensive end. They're giving up almost 80 points a game. I think this total's just a little too low. Both these teams foul a ton. Both make their opportunities. I think an over here is really a good play. I'm going to go over 154 in Montana State, Southern Utah.
Hopefully it's like the last game and it proves to be 40 or 50 points too low, this total, because then you'll be no sweat and you'll be a nice, easy Saturday stress-free winner. Hopefully I'm going to tail that one. I'll jump on that one too.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think for what you look for when you see it over, I think, and that's for me with college hoops, kind of what I do. I mean, I think it's important to really just, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And, I've had success with overs. I've had success with these kind of overs. I mean, Southern Utah, 43rd in the country in pace, 75 possessions. They don't want to stop. They can't string stops together. It's just, for me, something that I look for, and it fits what I'm going for. So I'm going to go over 154 here in Southern Utah, Montana State. Ian, hit us with another game. What do you got?
We're going to stick. Hey, we're on a roll with totals. Why not stick with another one? Going to go to a game that's basically taken place about an hour and a half from where I reside right now, just across that Canadian, New York, Western New York State border. We're going to go to a little Metro Atlantic action, a great close, we're talking about Canisius in the city of Buffalo, Niagara, Purple Eagles. We're talking about two colleges, two schools that aren't that far apart. It's a good rivalry series. It has been over the years. Not a lot of love between these two teams. Should be a good game tonight. Niagara at Canisius in this game. We're going to go over 159 in this game, Niagara and Canisius. You got to love the way Reggie Witherspoon has this Canisius team going on the offensive end of the court. They are absolutely filling up the well right now in terms of offensive basketball. The shooting's been absolutely sensational for Canisius on the season at home. Canisius shooting 49.3%, averaging close to 80 points per game this year. Canisius also at home has been very, very strong against the number. I mean, you look at their recent home games inside the Metro Atlantic, 85-78 home win against Iona and a cover, 70-58 against St. Peter's, win and cover, 94-79 against Monmouth, win and cover. This Canisius team rolling right now, and that's to say the least. They're playing great basketball. Niagara, tremendous backcourt. We talk about them all the time with Scott and Dukes. They've been absolutely tremendous, that backcourt, carrying the team. I mean, you look at their starting five last game. Their starting five combines for 41 points. Well, you know what? Scott and Dukes had 33 of those points. I mean, that tells you how big they are. And you look at this recent series history, big man, head-to-head matchups, Niagara, Canisius. They've been over bonanzas, 91-84 scores in that range. I think you see more of the same. I'm leaning to Niagara plus the points. This is a rivalry. Usually in these little Metro Atlantic rivalry games, you usually take the points. You do well. I lean Niagara. Kind of reluctant, though, to go against this Canisius train, but I do lean Niagara. But I think the stronger play here, over 159, I think we see points, Niagara and Canisius.
Yeah, this is one I had some interest in. I'm going to do a little bit more research on this game. This looks like too many points in this game. You mentioned it, rivalry game. Team should be close to the vest. I don't know if there's a ton of difference between these two teams. And the Purple Eagles have actually been pretty good on the road. So this is what I'm going to look more into. I think if I had to make the call right now, I'd probably grab the points here. You're getting a healthy 7.5 here with Niagara. I mean, this is one of those games, Ian, where I think if you play it, I could see the team winning outright. I could see Niagara winning this game. I think it's kind of like Drake for me in that sense. So, I would kind of look towards the underdog here. Betting FA Cup is brutal. I continue to do it and get burned. Yeah, it's tough, Giorgio. You're right about that. Is TCU a good pick, says Darrell Dukes? That's a good question. And listen, I mean, I've made the comment. I know, Ian, you and I kind of get into this about this Vandy team. And I think you're right to a sense where you're saying that you're going to have bookmakers that are going to undervalue Vandy and make them big time dogs. This is the case where maybe as just as an SEC team, it just might be too many points. They still have some talent on the team, but I think when you're looking at this kind of number, I'm kind of up in the air on whether I think this is a trap game or this is a game that just is too low. I think TCU, they're still undervaluing this group without Jalen Fisher. I think without Jalen Fisher, they're still a very good team. I think they always have the continued chip on their shoulder that if they didn't get to the tournament, they won the NIT, they're going to get there this year. This isn't the line profile where it's that, that vulnerable where you say, wow, this is a stone cold Vandy line. I just think this might be a case of, they didn't really know how to look at this game because Vandy's coming off a game where they did play pretty well, even without Fisher Davis. They were able to come back in that game. For me, if I had to go with this game, I don't think it's as much of a trap as maybe people might think. I would go with TCU if I had to. At 3.5, it looks like a good play. I think Vandy's cooked. You look at what they do; they don't really do anything well. They're just kind of a team, I think, in free fall mode, and will continue to be it.
Yeah, here's the thing with my Vanderbilt thoughts. And my Vanderbilt thoughts were I'd be looking for spots to bet on them because the effort was still there. We saw it against Tennessee. But now you're in a price range here against TCU, 3.5, 4, where it's going to be damn close to have to be winning time for Vanderbilt to cover this number. I'm not quite ready to pull the trigger at this line. Like getting 11.5 with them the other night against Tennessee is a lot different than getting just 3.5 and putting them in a spot where they're going to have to win the game or come damn close to cover the number. And, even without Jalen Fisher, TCU, still fighting the good fight. You're still seeing some this team pull up the bootstraps and compete pretty hard on a nightly basis. And they're still probably overall deeper team, more talented team. Certainly now with Vandy saying goodbye to Matthew Fisher Davis for the season with that injury, which hurts them for sure, without a doubt. So I'm looking for spots to bet Vanderbilt, but this ain't the spot I'm looking to do it in.
No, if I had to go, that I'd go with TCU here for anyone interested. Couple guys that watched the show, Ian, from the mighty Penn University over in West Philadelphia. They're going to the game today. They'll be at Penn University and St. Joe's, 627, 628. Joe's laying one total, 144.5. For anyone interested in knowing, these schools are separated by, I don't know, a couple blocks. St. Joe's up in, up a little deeper in West Philly, up towards Overbrook. Penn in West Philly, right outside of kind of Center City. Schools aren't separated by very far. There's a decent rivalry. It's a Big Five game. That's what you have here with this game. And I'm going to look at this like I look at any other Big Five game. I think Penn is better this year than they have been in previous years. I think they learned a lot about themselves after the Temple game. Thought they played honorably in that game. I think Temple just did a little bit more towards the end of the game, but they didn't make it easy. Phil Martelli's crew, St. Joe's, have really had struggles this year with injuries, but I do and am pretty bullish on them. I think they have some decent players still on this group. I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's a fun one to watch. I almost wish I would have went to the game. I'm just a little busy. I won't be able to get down there, but Plush is a great place to go. I'd lean with the St. Joe's Hawks here. I can get a pick 'em at Bookmaker. I just think Penn, when they step up a bit in competition, I just don't think they're as good as their opponents. And in a City 5 game like this, I'm going to go with the more talented team. I think St. Joe's at flashes this year has looked really good. I'll go with the Hawks here if I had to play this Big Five game. Any opinion here on this one?
I wouldn't really argue with that because we saw Penn lose to Temple earlier this season. A team that, you think Temple's a little bit better than Penn, so they won. St. Joe's, to me at least, and you agree from what it seems, St. Joe's a little bit better than Penn in terms of talent overall, depth overall, and has enough to get the job done. Phil Martelli, watch this St. Joe's team actually be a pretty good point spread team probably in February into March. This is usually the time of the year when start to surge a little bit, that St. Joe's team. We'll see if it happens again this year.
Yeah, 555, 556. Someone asking about UL Lafayette, Troy. Troy's had a tough season, and it's interesting because I thought they'd be a lot better. I mean, Wesley Person, Jordan Varnardo, they have some real talent there down in Alabama, but UL Lafayette's been really good, Ian. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Raging Cajuns have really looked like the class of the Sun Belt without UT Arlington maintaining any consistency. This team is just murdering teams right now. I mean, you look at the last 4 games, 5 games, hell, 6 games, 7 games. I mean, they're winning by 10, 33, 18, 33, 14, 25, 21. I mean, they're just murdering teams in the.
They're doing a tap dance over the Sun Belt Conference right now.
I mean, it's amazing. Every game, me and Cameron, that they've played in conference, they've won by double digits.
Yep.
I mean, it's truly amazing. And you're getting a game at home here where I got to be real. When you're looking at a game like this, it's kind of like Buffalo. But you look at Buffalo, they didn't cover last night, or did they push?
They pushed. They landed right on 7. Yep.
But my whole thing is, I'll look at the game, and if I see an edge, I'm not worried about stepping in front of streaks. If you have a team that can play and hurt the other team, I'll take the shot. I don't mind. But I think in this game, there's just not a reason to think that, this is going to be any different. Troy's struggled. They've had issues all year. Why step in front of you at Lafayette? They're absolutely firing on all cylinders right now. What they've done in conference has not been lauded by anyone, but it's pretty amazing. I mean, they're just killing teams. Not something I want to step in front of. Troy's had some trouble defensively this year at times. I wish I could get like 8.5 or 9 instead of 10.5. But yeah, I mean, I'm not looking to step in front of this train, put it that way.
I agree. I mean, when these teams are just on a roll, point spread wise, it's hard to get in front of them. It really is, until I see evidence that. The reason why I'm not going to back Lafayette, though, either, is because, the time to really get on this train was 5-6 games ago. It's not now. I've missed the streak, and I fear that if I get on the streak now, I'm going to be the old mush. I'm going to be the old Debbie Downer that ends up putting an end to that streak, and they'll end up not covering today if I jump on Lafayette now. So it's a game I'm clearly staying away from.
They won't cover at some point. Will it be today? Nobody knows. Oklahoma, Alabama. I don't have a ton on this one. I will say this. This looks like a stone-cold Alabama line. When they're at home, I bet on them. It's just how it is. It is just how it is.
They're better at home. They are. The train wreck on the road. Exactly. I will give Trey Young a little props here, big man. Used his teammates, facilitated the offense, distributed the ball a little bit more in Oklahoma's last game, which was good to see. He was becoming a bit of a Russell Westbrook type lately for Oklahoma. Ball hog, just shoot the ball, just get his shot, look for his points. Finally distributed the ball a bit last game.
Here's the problem that he has. He reads too much into the media. He needs to play his own game. You don't listen. When Allen Iverson, do you remember Allen Iverson when he played? You think he cared a fuck about what anyone thought? That's how that's the game he played. That's just how it was. Trey Young needs to do what Trey Young thinks is the right thing. I've noticed when the media gets at him, he changes his game immediately. It's almost like when you can't try to do things different. Like I don't know shit about hockey, so I don't talk about it. For Trey Young, he's a scorer. That's what he does. Does he take bad shots times? Yes. But you have to live with it if you're Oklahoma. They need to get better kind of partners for him on the court. People that understand his game. They don't seem like they understand how he plays, and they're not kind of putting themselves in positions. Did they win? Yes. And I hear your point, but I think he reads too much into what the media says, good and bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting case study with him, but I think shot selection has sort of been his tricky part lately too. Shot selection, just jacking up too much. But again, just when the open shot's there, take it. If you're guarded, you got the hand in your face, you're contested, that's when you dish the ball. So it's just those little intricacies of basketball and running an offense that I think he's still learning. But he's a talent. He's obviously a tremendous talent, and Lon Kruger's lucky to have him on this Oklahoma team, because really I don't know what Oklahoma would do without him, to be honest with you. This would be a borderline average, if not below average, Oklahoma team if you take Trey Young off it. But he's had a magical year. He's just going to continue to grow. Yeah,
I think without Trey Young, they'd be awful. I think he scores and as a part of 60% of their scoring. That's a lot. I don't think there's any player more important to their team than Trey Young. As far as this game though, for me, this is a spot that I'm looking towards. I look at Oklahoma and I see they're not a great shooting team on the road. They do score, but what Alabama will do is they'll slow them down. Alabama, Ian, is one of the better transition defenses in the conference. They will limit transition here. Sexton couldn't have had a worse game in his comeback game over the week. Listen, I don't know that they're that worse a team without him. He's had some bad shooting nights, but I think today you'll see a real duel between these two. This is like the equivalent of two really good guards in the NBA going at each other. These are two guys that will play at the next level. It's going to be a great battle. But for me, the betting profile that I look for is Alabama at home as a dog or in a pick'em situation. I think a lot of people will get on Oklahoma today when they're a very average road team. You have a team that's 9-1 at home. They play great defense. They don't foul a whole lot. They're going to keep you away from the free throw line. They're not going to allow transition opportunities. Give me, I would go with Alabama here if I had to play this game. This looks like every other Alabama game they're in at home.
Yeah, quickly on a couple of the real early games. They've been asked about it in the chat. Texas Tech, South Carolina. I got nothing. I'm not laying points with Tech on the road. Tech's on an 0-5 ATS losing streak. Again, one of those teams on a point spread losing streak right now, Texas Tech. So I don't want to back them. I also don't want to take South Carolina off that huge win on the road at Florida. That was a big win for them. I'm not sure I trust them to back it up 2 straight times with a good performance. So I'm out of that game. Baylor, Florida is the other one. Kind of agree with the upward movement on Florida here. 6-7. You know, you got Scott Drew versus Mike White. I'm going to give the edge to Mike White there. I'm going to give the edge to Florida off a bad loss to South Carolina. Let's be honest, that Florida spot was not good. The last game against South Carolina. That's the game Big Man and Donnie watched, the betcast there the other night. South Carolina, Florida. They were just, off the big win against Kentucky, they were flat. All right, they were just downright flat, Florida, in that basketball game. Bad performance. It was just a bad spot for them. I think they bounce back today, get the win against Baylor. Will they cover? Maybe, maybe not. But in that game, I'm looking to lay the points with Florida or pass.
Yeah, I don't have too much on those two games. We'll keep it going here. Rutgers, Penn State. This is kind of an interesting one. Listen, you're not going to ever sell to me that Rutgers is worth bets, but I will say this: coming off that big win the other night, I kind of want to take Rutgers in this game. I think it might be a decent spot for the Steve Peichel crew. Getting 9 points in this game. It's hard to come off a game like that, Ian Cameron. I mean, you win a game the way they did. Now you got to go back home, play a Rutgers team that, look, frankly, isn't very good. I think Rutgers could keep themselves in the game because they are a very good defensive team. That's one thing you got to respect with Rutgers. But here's my issue with Rutgers, and here's why I don't like to back them and won't back them in really any situation. They'll make you kill yourself offensively. They are awful from the field. On the road, Ian Cameron, they're shooting 35% this year. They don't make foul shots. They're 63% as a team, and they can't make threes either. They're just really hamstrung on the offensive end. The only concern here is this a letdown for Penn State? That's your concern. I think 130 is maybe a bit too high for a total here. I don't know that Rutgers will hit 60. If that's the case, I think this is like a 67-57 type of game, something like that. This looks like a decent underplay because Rutgers is really going to be your friend when you bet overs because they're really hamstrung on the offensive end and for the most part played pretty good defense. So yeah, I don't hate that play for that guy asking about that.
Very quickly about that game. The last time I laid big points with Penn State was against a Minnesota team that was a disaster at the time. Coffey was injured. They had the Lynch stuff going on with that team. And Minnesota won that game outright as a big dog against Penn State. So I said, never again laying points, this kind of points with Penn State. So that's a game I'm totally staying away from.
Nothing wrong with that. We won't be able to get to every game. Yes, hit the like button. Thanks. Reeves is back. There you go. That was back in the last game. Good point. Elon Towson. I got nothing on Elon Towson. Elon's a team that I think they're not the easiest team to bet overs with. It's not one of those CAA games that I'm all over. Why can't you guys start at 10:30? Because we don't make the rules, Brian. We're asked to come on at 11, and that's when we're here.
We're not schedule makers, Brian. We're not.
Right.
We just come do the shows when they want, the times they want us to do them. That's about it.
Exactly. And we start at 11 because all the games start at 12, Brian. It's a good way to go right off the kickoff or first tip. Wofford. Thanks, big man. 695, 696. I like Wofford. I had them the other night against against VMI, Virginia Military Institute. Easy winner there. Now they come back today. Cam Jackson should be back, though. Here's what I want to do, Ian, in this game, and I think it's important that we do it. Most teams down in the SoCo and in some of the Southern conferences, they'll have what's called like a pregame show of sorts on their radio broadcast, and most coaches in this conference will get on the air, and basically they actually do it in baseball a lot, in the MLB as well. Coaches will get on the air. They'll talk about the state of the team, who's in, who's out today. I want to see what's going on with Wofford, because I heard through the grapevine, I heard it through the grapevine, that there was a little flu going around at Wofford. Cameron Jackson was out the other night, their third best scorer against VMI. It didn't matter. But in a game like this against an Eastern Tennessee State team that's rolling, this is a big-time game down in SoCo. This is a huge game for the Terriers at home. And look, they're getting 3.5, 4 points. I want to make sure everyone's healthy here with Wofford. And if they are, I'm going to look towards the underdog in this game. I think Wofford is a good basketball team. I think Fletcher McGee is the best player in the conference, and I think they're a team that at home have to be given a look here against even East Tennessee State, who I got to tell you, I think Steve Forbes, what a coach he is. I'm going to look more into this game, so keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I'm going to go for a big ugly dog in the late night action. Portland and St. Mary's. Portland plus 22.5 is what I'm looking at. And I'm kicking myself I did not take Portland against Gonzaga, but I stayed off that because I said this is Gonzaga. They're capable of crushing any team in this conference as far as I'm concerned. So is St. Mary's, but St. Mary's is more of a methodical pace team. They're not going to be looking to go up and down, up and down, up and down the basketball court. I think it's just a few too many points. Portland's actually on a 3-0 against the spread streak. They won outright as dogs against San Diego and Marymount, got inside the number against Gonzaga in their last game. Where's the focus and intensity for 40 minutes here for St. Mary's to absolutely lay a whipping on somebody? I'm not sure we get that A game from St. Mary's tonight. Off a big win against national TV game, ESPNU the other night against BYU. They won 75-62. Prior to that, they only beat San Diego by 7 at home. They only beat Pacific by 18 and don't cover the number in that game at home. Again, you're getting 22.5 points here with Portland. I think it's just a few too many. Portland can sneak inside this very, very large number, I think.
Yeah, I haven't had much involvement in the West Coast Conference. Obviously, I've been watching it, but not a whole lot as far as from a betting perspective. Let's go rapid fire here, Ian. 689, 690, IPFW, South Dakota State. Listen, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall. Should see some points here. I want to see Mike Daum and how he handled IPFW last year. John Kaufman's crew, always a good ATS team at Fort Wayne. Might be too many points. You might be starting to get overvalued here with South Dakota State. South Dakota State is a good team, but they are a team that I think is a bit of a fraud on defense. They're going to keep you in a game, and IPFW can score. I mean, they're always a team that can put the ball in the hoop. That might be a little too many points there for the Jackrabbits. South Dakota, Denver. South Dakota is a team that I really like. I think they're the class of the Summit League. They've been able to win and go on the road and cover no matter where it is. They might be worth the look today against the Pioneers. Where else are we going here? William and Mary, UNC Wilmington, a total. A lot of points in this one. I think the total is up to what? 166.5, maybe even higher.
It opened in the 170s, and it's been hammered, and I mean hammered under. We're talking like a 6-7 point move to the under in that game.
Yeah, I'm seeing that here. We're currently sitting at 165.5 for 166. Listen, I mean, William and Mary games have been going over. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, we've been on a lot of them. I think I've been on the last several. This will probably be just a play I make. I don't know if it'll be a full unit, but I mean, why does anyone think this game will go under? I think the only concern for why it won't is, UNC Wilmington maybe getting a little bit better on the defensive end, but I'm not buying it. I'm just not sure I buy it.
You know what? Your favorite thing, big man, and the thing you respect the most in this world, the sharp money, is bringing this thing under the total. I know you respect the hell out of that.
Oh yeah, no, I care so much about what those shitheads are on. That doesn't mean much to me at all. I'm gonna look more into this one, but I mean, UNC Wilmington 28th in pace. I mean, they just go fast. I mean, that's what they do, and they are awful I mean, for most of the season defensively. Opponent effective field goal percentage of 57.3%. That's for anyone in the lay terms, not good. But then you look at the last 4 games. They haven't been great going over. But again, these are two teams that go quick. They go fast. The last couple of games, they faced Charleston, James Madison, Towson, and Northeastern. Not exactly lightning speed teams. William & Mary will definitely get into what they want to do and go fast as well. Let's do one or two more.
Quickly on Kentucky, West Virginia. I was looking to bet West Virginia in that game. I'm not laying 10, though. The price is much higher than I thought it would be, but I'm not ready to trust Coach Cal and his team on the road here in this Morgantown environment in a big-time spotlight game like this. So, again, I was looking to make a case for West Virginia, but it's just too many points to lay now for me.
Texas, Mississippi, that's another one I don't have much opinion on. I like Ole Miss more than most people, but Texas has played real well at home. I don't see much interest in why I would want to bet that game. Pass for me. One other one I'll throw out there, 577, 578, I believe. It's Syracuse-Pittsburgh. This total was at 124 last night. It's down to 122. I mean, Pittsburgh, how many times we need to see this team score into the 50s before we say maybe they're not very good?
Their one consistent scorer, Ryan Luther's injured, and they haven't been able to put a ball in the ocean since then.
And I got to tell you today, I don't think it's going to get any easier. Syracuse is elite defensively. Both these teams very good on defense. I don't think this game gets to, I think Pittsburgh will struggle to score 55 points in this game. I'd be holding my nose and going under here. Pittsburgh 14-2 to the under this year.
Yeah.
They're 32-10. When they're an underdog, the game is going under 32 of 42 times. They're just a great under team. That's what they are.
Give them some credit. They actually covered that last game against NC State, and that game stayed under the total, even though we know with NC State under Kevin Keats, they want to go up and down. They want to bring the pace, bring the tempo, and yet that game still stayed under with NC State the other night.
Right, and these are two teams that aren't going to get going. They're not going to go fast. Both these teams, Ian Cameron, Pittsburgh 307 in the country in possessions per game, Syracuse 308 in possessions per game. So right there, tied. They both go slow. I'd go under 122. Might be a sharp one here. We'll go one. Well, actually, we can go a couple more. We got 5 minutes here. Where are we going here? Tennessee 581. Anything on Tennessee, Ian?
It's very simple for me. I like what I'm seeing from Tennessee. Again, I bet against them with Vandy the other night, but they're laying big points. This is a price range where I'm more reluctant to fade Tennessee. This is a good basketball team. Got some talent. Admiral Schofield. That's fun watching that guy play. He's been really good this season for this Volunteers team. Rick Barnes doing a good job there right now. And Iowa State, still this team, I don't love them by any stretch. I've seen them get killed in a couple of games. They got romped by Texas on Monday night in that big Monday game. I don't trust Iowa State. I think this team's down a good couple of notches from where it's been in the past under Steve Prohm, and I'm not convinced. I'm not trusting them to win this game. So it's Tennessee or nothing.
Can't disagree with you. 657, 658, Illinois State, Valpo. Valpo blows. Okay? They blow. I don't want to bet them. I have no interest in betting them. I don't know why people keep betting them. They suck. I don't want to bet them. Give me Illinois State. I don't like them. I don't like them without Joe Burton. Alec Peters has left the fucking building. And now you got to go on the road and play a team in Illinois State that I think offensively is one of the better teams in this conference. They can put the ball in the hoop. They've improved on the defensive end. And Valparaiso's 4-8 to the number, or 4-8 straight up, 6-6 the number on the road. They're just not very good offensively. I see a team with that's getting healthy in Illinois State. Everybody's back. Keyshawn, all these guys are back. Give me Illinois State today. I like them a lot more than I like Valpo. I just don't think Valpo is a very good basketball team, frankly.
Georgia, Kansas State. There's another awkward Big 12 SEC game. Georgia in the underdog role on the road is a very good role for them. I don't go against Georgia when they're catching this many points on the road. That's been a good road dog role. It's been good to them under Mark Fox. Kansas State, though, starting to put some things together. The one concern for Kansas State is they got that mammoth game at home Monday night. Big Monday showdown against the Kansas Jayhawks. Could be a little bit of a look-ahead spot. I'd honestly play Georgia plus 7.5 there. In fact, I think I might.
There you go. Couple more here. I don't know where we got it going here. What else do I have here?
LSU Auburn, LSU plus the points is kind of attracting me a little bit there. Auburn's so good, though. I mean, they just absolutely drilled Missouri the other night. It was like men against boys on the basketball court. Bruce Pearl actually has this team playing some defense as well. We know they can score, but they're playing a pretty good brand of defensive basketball right now. So I love Will Wade and what he's done with LSU. That was a great win, dismantling Texas A&M for the second time this season the other night. Lean to LSU, but again, right now with Auburn, they just keep finding ways to cover point spreads right now. So it's a lean LSU, but I'm not sure I'll pull the trigger.
595, 596. I'm really looking forward to this game. I'm really bullish on Utah. I think they're a team that's really well coached. I think they have 6 guys that can score the basketball. They're really going to be deep. They could come at you a couple different ways. I think Cedric Bearfield's a guy that gets no respect. He won't get any respect, but the kid is just a shooter. I mean, he just can make shots. I mean, huge shot at the end of the Arizona State game. And I'm going to say it again. I told you the other night, Arizona is not good against the number. They just don't cover spreads. They don't put their foot on the pedal and just roll. The only blowout win they have this year is the one that I took them in against Cal. It was a get-right game. But the truthful fact of the matter is I don't trust them laying numbers like this. And against a Utah team that I think is prime to hang around, I'm going to take the Utes here. I think +9's worth a look. I don't know if it'll be an official play, but it's something I'm intrigued by. Utah is a team that makes their foul shots. They do little things. And I think David Collette can handle Ayton. I don't know that he'll shut him down, but I think he can give him something. Give me Collette. Give me some of the bigs there that Utah has. As we know, Kristoviak, a guy that was a big in the league for many years. He knows how to handle some of these big boys. I think you can at least slow him down. And Ian, Arizona 3-7 to the number at home this year, and they're 7-13 overall. If I can get 9 points in this game, I'm going to look towards the Utes. I'm going to wait on this to see if we can get it back up to 9. But this is an intriguing one. Utah playing well.
Exactly. Utah plus the points is intriguing. They had a great performance against Arizona State. Speaking of Arizona State, they're hosting Colorado laying 10. It's a revenge spot for Arizona State, but Colorado is very erratic on the road. They're capable of competing and winning outright this game probably on the road, but they're also capable of getting blown out. You won't see me laying 10 right now, though, with Arizona State. This team's on a free fall right now, so it's a game I'm going to stay out of.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I would look towards Utah. I'm going to see where I'm at with this one a little bit later. All right, guys. Other than that, we're going to wrap it up. It is noon here. We got to get off here.
One quickly, last one. Oklahoma State plus the points at Arkansas, leaning in that direction. Arkansas, to me, is not a great point spread team, and even at home, they've been not as good lately. Oklahoma State's starting to come on and be more competitive lately, too. So Oklahoma State's a lean for me there against Arkansas.
Yeah, 2 plays for me today. I'm going to go with Drake plus 5.5. I already played that one, sent it out to the Twitter universe. I'm also on over 154 in Montana State, Southern Utah. Ian, why don't you throw out what you're on here?
Yeah, quickly recap. We're laid the 7.5 with Oregon against Oregon State. We're on Northeastern Drexel over 147. I'm going to combo side and total Niagara Canisius. I'm going to take the 7.5 with Niagara and also go over 159 in that game. And I also like Portland, the Pilots, getting too many points, plus 22.5 against St. Mary's. And again, Georgia plus 7.5. Another one that I think stands out to me. Kansas State with a big Kansas game coming up on Monday.
Very good. I'll have my eye also on Niagara. I'll also be looking at Utah. We'll see how that goes a little bit later in the day. I don't like to release all the plays at once. Want to see where we go with the game. So everyone have a great day. Appreciate you all tuning in to the closing line here. We'll be back next week, Saturday, when we do this again. Plenty of stuff going on next week. Everyone have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you Monday here